So Redfall, I've been trying to find videos on YouTube talking about what size the dev team was, if it was the same exact dev team that made Deathloop, but that was a single player, and apparently the dev team is much better at single players, and it doesn't really do like co-ops or multiplayers. But Big Bear said stay away from the game, crashes on medium settings. The story is very shallow, that vampires are weak and unbelievable. I'd rather watch Twilight than play this game. Bear is going hard in that comment, and he never does. Bear takes it easy, and he's just going all in on that comment. Pocket said it's on Game Pass. That's like the one redeeming quality about this game. I heard the game runs at 30 FPS on PS5. For me, it's running very well on my RX 6700 XT, so Krongi apparently wasn't having any problems. But I don't know what his FPS was. I went on YouTube.
Hey, and we're back with another episode of Before You Buy. You know, that show where we give you some straight...
Okay, so let me just say, like, this video, I was so disappointed in the guy that made this video.
...up gameplay footage and our first impressions of the latest games releasing. Today we're talking about
SkillUps?
Redfall.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for your patience with this one. We didn't get our hands on it super early or anything, so we're hoping our first impressions here can maybe help give you some...
I think they kept the motion blur here, but, like, I think it looks really good. Like, this gun looks really nice. Like, this is kind of what I was hoping for, but we don't have any sound yet. We can't hear anything that's going on, and we don't see them fighting anyone. So this is like, they're not really showing us anything right now.
Context or cut through the noise. So the deal with this one is it's the latest from Arkane, the developers behind classics like the Dishonored games, the newer Prey, and most recently Arkane has seemingly kind of grown and branched out with something different like Deathloop, and now they're trying it again with Redfall.
So he's invisible.
The Xbox and PC exclusive that has been in the works for a while now. And just so you know, the disclaimer up front, we've tested it a bit on PC and Xbox Series X, and most of the footage you see here with the obviously controller gameplay is captured on Xbox Series X and is spoiler-free. We're mostly going to show the opening hours. So here's the bottom line for me.
Just like blew through those two vampires in seconds.
And of course, this is my own personal opinion and a matter of taste. But Redfall doesn't do it for me. It hasn't really done it for me since it was previewed, and now after spending time in the final
Draco, hi.
I just haven't had much fun. That's it, man. That's why I make these videos. Is the game fun? And Redfall just doesn't have enough juice in it for my liking. Now, I actually disagree with some of the consensus out here. You may have seen videos on social media and headlines about the game being only 30 frames per second and having glitches and bugs and, like, yeah, we'll talk about that in a bit, but that stuff doesn't matter as much to me here. The bigger nail in the coffin is that the game just feels undercooked as a concept. It doesn't have much soul to it, and it isn't very fun. That's it, you know? It's hard for me to put my finger on exactly why. Something about this one just feels like it got lost in translation. You can see some of the spark here and there.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and go all in on this guy. I was listening to this review, and I was really hoping, because it's Gameranx, that they would, like, say how they feel. They would say what it is. If this guy reviews games, he f***ing knows why he doesn't like it. He knows. Don't tell me you don't know why you don't like it. We all know why you don't like it. But the fact that you're not saying why you don't like it seems just obtuse to me. Like, I don't know if I can actually go on and watch any more videos from these people because of the fact that they put out this video. It means that they're looking to, like, punch up the content, make it look good, make sales, maintain relationships, and not actually say how they feel about these games that they're putting out on the market. Look, Redfall is the game that you're going to go all in on. If you're going to say something bad about a game, say it about Redfall. They apparently have a lot of problems with the game. Don't be afraid to say what it is. So I don't know if I can watch any more of these Before You Buy videos because they seem so wimpy. You got the connections. You have the experience. You know. Don't tell me you don't know. He's a nice person and tends to hold back. He's definitely holding back, but is he holding back for himself or for us?
And the game may find some fans, but not really with us here. So what is the game exactly?
The game may find some fans, but not really with us here. Could you just say something? Like, this guy is saying so much gas at me. It's like,
a lot of people haven't really been clear on that. It's actually just a straightforward open world co-op shooter. You choose from one of 4 quirky, unique characters. There's Devinder, the kind of techie conspiracy theory guy with sort of Ghostbusters gadgets, which is kind of...
so then he's like kind of doing a review about it, the most generic of information. Like, he starts off by saying nothing about how he feels, and then he goes into talking about super generic information that everyone knows.
Kind of cool. There's Layla. He feels better paired with another character in co-op to complement his tricks. Jacob was a bit more my style as a solo player. He's got a...
So they're playing, everyone has to do the reviews on console. And the fact that they're missing these shots is because it's a lot of people that play PC all the time, like me. Like keyboard and mouse junkies like me. If you're going to do a shooter, you're going to do it on keyboard and mouse. That's what I do. That's what all these people do. So you're saying they missed all these really easy shots because they're forced to play it on console because that's the only way that they can make good footage and then put together for a video. He's not saying that either. I don't know. I find that was such a disappointing for me review. And it was called, it's the Before You Buy by Gameranx. Gameranx. I don't know. So then there's this one.
This video is brought to you by friend of the channel, Steel.
Okay, this guy actually says what it is. This guy says exactly what it is, and I'm just like, thank God.
Makers of the best keyboards, mice, and
Lone
headsets
Wolf,
on the market.
hi.
Steel Series are a
Hey,
long-time
hi.
channel partner that have hooked us up with a 12% discount on any purchase whenever you use offer code SkillUp at checkout. Click below
Sounds
to get
like
in on it, or
Aussie,
stick
right?
around to the end of the video to learn more.
To learn more.
Hello. Today we will discuss Redfall. I'd
Hello.
like to start by talking about Redfall's narrative, characterization, and storytelling. Redfall opens with a non-animated cutscene. There's just those shifting stills and a voiceover. This is the first time you'll see this, but it's certain.
Okay, I just listened to some of this, but I didn't actually look at it. So, AAA game, $70, shifting stills for the opening cutscene.
Certainly won't be the last, because Redfall does not have a single animated cutscene in the entire game. All of the cutscene budget clearly went to those trailers we saw. When you load up missions, you are treated to in-engine cutscenes that are just stills with a color tint and a voiceover. When you complete missions to unlock memory fragments of the villains you're hunting, flashback sequences are not animated. They have these blue stick figures that just stand there, forcing you to just stand there and listen to their boring exposition.
Thank you for meeting with me. I appreciate it.
At one point, I was forced to hunt for a secret movie reel that would reveal the origins of one of the villains. After I found it, I had to schlep across town to a cinema in order to watch it. When I turned it on, I was greeted by yet another non-animated cutscene.
What the fuck? Where'd all their budget go? Into the marketing?
This damn thing. This is where it started, Amelia.
I don't think it's too much to ask for some animated cutscenes and a bit of fanfare in a AAA video game from Arkane. Let's not forget, the last time they welcomed you to a video game, it looked and sounded like this. Redfall has a story, but it is threadbare and it is held together by duct tape and chicken wire. These non-animated mission cutscenes and flashbacks.
It's like, what the fuck happened? Where did their team go? I don't understand. So this is why I'm asking these questions. Like, is it the same dev team that did Deathloop that also did this? Because, like, how did they miss the mark so hard?
Flashbacks I mentioned earlier are the bulk of it. I think they provide about as much setup as a strike loading screen from Destiny 1.
Whether we wanted it or not.
Outside of these, the town of Redfall is peppered with literally hundreds of small
Rip.
notes that you can
Rest in
read
peace.
if you have patience enough to. I tried to read some of them at the start, but they were too numerous and too boring to continue. As with Fallout 76, I do not consider post-it notes stuck to fridges a substitute for proper storytelling.
Yeah, that's another thing. So I've listened to so many gamers talk about how in games, if there's something that they have to read, they won't read it. And I've actually started doing that a little bit more just because I'm curious, can I still understand what's going on if I don't read the material that they've left for me to read? Because they're not putting it somewhere else. They're leaving it in a letter. They're leaving it in a post-it note. Like for the newer games, I'm like, can I still understand what's happening if I don't read anything? Hopefully.
Arkane intended for the in-world lore to carry the narrative, nothing has been done to make that at all accessible. When you discover audio logs on a literal handheld voice recorder, the kind specifically designed to be picked up with your hand, you cannot pick it up and listen to the audio log as you walk around and do other things. You need.
Oh my god, that, you know, they did actually a pretty good job of this in Diablo 4. If you listen to an audio recording, you can walk away and keep listening to it. You don't have to stay next to it. But in Star Wars Fallen Order, you have to be in an area to hear like the whisper of the past through the Force. In Jedi Survivor, you don't. You can go around and do whatever you want. So they gave you freedom from having to be in the vicinity of it. Kind of like in Division, there's the Echo. You have to be inside of the Echo to see it. You can't like leave the area. But it's different because then you can actually see what's happening too. So I can't even really compare it. Listening to an audio recording as you go around and check an area out is so much better than having to just stand next to it.
Listen to it, otherwise you will not get any sense of what is going on in this game.
Please.
Fuck. Ooh, sexy.
4 playable characters. They don't have any powers or abilities when you start the game, but they suddenly gain them as you level up. None of this is explained then and there, but brief mentions in cutscenes hint at how you got these abilities. Hints are all you get though. It's fleetingly rare for your character to have two-way dialogue with another character. The non-animated mission cinematics are just you talking. When you approach an NPC for a side mission, they will just talk at you and assume that you agree with their request without you saying anything.
Oh
If
boy.
you can find it, I'd like to have that book back. If that's okay. Please, it's all I have left of her.
That music there, by the way, it's a bug. It's meant to end when the cinematic ends, but it doesn't. It just keeps looping until you leave the base. Anyway, because you don't really interact with any other characters, no character you meet feels like an actual character. And they aren't. They're just vendors that Arkane has attached a bit of narrative dressing to. You could replace each of these people with one of those self-service McDonald's kiosks, and little of value would have been lost. Prey, Dishonored, and Death all had compelling narratives driven by strong characters and excellent AAA level presentation. Redfall has story ideas, but absolutely no narrative, no characters, and I've played many indie games with significantly better presentation than this.
I don't get it. Did they spend all the money on advertising and the co-op? Is it that hard to make a co-op experience, chat? Or is it just because they didn't have as much experience with co-op? I don't know. I just don't know where the money went.
I would now like to show you
And
how
the
to
time.
explode a car in Redfall.
Okay, I'm ready. What? In the window?
That is how you explode a car in Redfall. I would now like to talk about controlling Redfall with an Xbox controller. A little while ago, there was some footage released on IGN of a person playing this game. That footage was roundly...
You just shot into the window. When Xbox buys you? Oh, please.
criticized.
Oh.
The suggestion being that clearly this IGN person was terrible at playing the game. They struggled to aim, they pulled out a sniper rifle indoors, and generally spent a lot of time just running around and away. So the like ratio and comments on that video were brutal. We all owe that person an apology, because everything that person did in that video is explainable by Redfall's horrendous controls. Redfall is one of the worst handling shooters I've played on a console. It is a game that constantly has you track targets who move quickly and are juking you and teleporting so often, and yet it provides almost nothing in the way of aim assist the way that games like Destiny do. You may be looking at this footage thinking, dude, what are you doing? Just fucking hit it. But when you aim down sights, you lose a significant portion of your aim speed, meaning that it's very difficult for you to stay on target. You might say, oh, you should turn up your ADS sensitivity, but there is no ADS sensitivity. There's just overall sensitivity and something called input response preset, which I really don't know what it does. I tested it, I couldn't figure it out. But I really recommend against fucking with overall sensitivity due to the major problem with using an Xbox controller, and that's the dead zone. The dead zone is so bad. You really need to press...
Wait, so let me get this straight. There's no fucking auto aim for controllers, and you can't aim down your sights without losing your target? So then how are you supposed to fucking shoot them? Like, this is like probably the best one that I've actually seen. This review is probably the best review I've seen, so I can recommend this review easy. It's called Redfall is an absolute catastrophe of a video game review. It's like very thorough.
Anything, and by the time it does register, it's already going too far. Making precise adjustments in this game is so hard, owing to how controls have been implemented in Redfall.
What? Didn't they do gun games before? Like, this isn't their first gun game.
That was a problem in Deathloop, and much like every other part of Redfall, the problem returns here, only it's worse. Furthermore, and I couldn't believe this, you can carry 3 weapons with you. Let's say your pistol's in slot 1, you've got an assault rifle in slot 2, and slot 3 is your shotgun.
So I actually never played Deathloop. I had a friend that played it, and they seemed to really like it. I don't remember them talking poorly about aiming or sensitivity or anything like that. So because they're such a good gamer, I thought that was basically like the mark of success for Deathloop. I never played Dishonored either. I actually haven't done any of their other games. So, you know, maybe I'm not one to say, but that's why I have to rely on these videos to tell me what's actually wrong.
Your pistol in slot 1 to your shotgun in slot 3, you always need to cycle through the assault rifle to get there. There is no radial dial, no dedicated button to switch back rather than forward, no long press of the weapon change button to pull out your third weapon. So remember that IGN person where like, they pulled out a sniper rifle indoors, what a fucking idiot. No, I've done exactly the same thing on many occasions because I've been bum rushed by teleporting vampires and I can't hit any of them and I want to pull out a shotgun but I forget which weapon I'm cycling through, so I pull out a sniper rifle by mistake and I go, fuck it, let's just shoot it. That is why that IGN footage is so bad. IGN person, I'm sorry we made fun of you. It is not you, it was this garbage video game. I would now like to show you how to deal with watchers. Scattered throughout the world are watcher vampires who act as menacing searchlights that will alert others to your presence. Here is an advanced strategy I discovered to avoid their omnipresent gaze. I would now like to talk about world design in Redfall. Redfall is one of the most
Hold on. Advanced strategy. I'm sorry.
boring, empty, copy-pasted environments I've ever experienced
Plague
in a
Tale.
AAA game. I did a tour of Universal Studios once, and they took me to the backlot full of fake houses and empty streets. That is how the town of Redfall feels all over. Here is a parking lot I found with 3 identical trucks, all of which seem to have the exact same oil spill problem underneath them.
Huh.
Here's a clip of me heading toward a mission objective, suddenly realizing that I haven't seen any enemies in what feels like a few minutes.
Nice
Here's
sounds.
a sped up clip of me heading towards another mission objective. I run for over 2 minutes and cover nearly half the map of Redfall without seeing a single enemy. Here is me exploring the Docks district. It is so empty that I stop and take out a sniper rifle to see if I can see anything at all. And I can't. If you'd have told me that this was bugged or some sort of alpha build where the enemies haven't been dropped onto the map yet, I would have believed you. But this is actually what Redfall actually feels like most of the time.
Weird.
I would now like to talk about immersive sim elements in Redfall.
What? There's like no game here.
Has immersive sim elements. To quote the Steam page, continuing Arkane's legacy of carefully crafted worlds and immersive sims, Redfall brings the studio's signature gameplay to this story-driven action shooter. So I want to be really clear right off the top, that is a total fucking lie. Warren Spector, the creator of the Deus Ex series, is the
Oh, does this mean we're getting to the bottom of the dev story? Because I just have looked around to find videos about what happened to the dev team. Is it the same devs? Like, what's the deal with who's behind this? Like, because there's got to be someone that's behind this. And I was getting some backstory about the developers being pushed by the publisher, even though they weren't ready for the May release window, or really late April. Really, no, because it's May 2nd. And I didn't find anything. So maybe this is going to shed some light on the subject.
immersive sim as we know it today. When he speaks about creating Deus Ex, and he's done so on many occasions, He tells the story of doors in video games and how back then doors always needed a key. Maybe one of them needed a red key and another needed a blue key, but they all needed a key. And the principal
This is the one by SkillUp. That's the one that chat was recommending.
design philosophy underpinning Deus Ex, and by extension the whole immersive sim genre, is the key should not be the only path forward. You should be able to kick that door down, trick an NPC into opening it, shooting it off its hinges, hack it, or just walk through it with some magic bullshit. So it is so unbelievably ironic that basically the only type of puzzle that Redfall relies on is find the key. You need to find the key to progress main missions, side missions, unlock safe houses, trigger flashbacks, whatever. It may not be a physical key every time, but it is always some version of a key, an item that you need to hunt around for, and there is no other way to progress the objective other than to find that key. This is a good example. Here I needed to find a key to open a door. I could not find this fucking key. I looked everywhere, I couldn't find it. So I'm like, all right, this is an Arkane game. Gotta be some other way to open that door, right? Wrong.
Yeah, you would think so, Hunter. You would think that they're pressured and didn't have time for features. But didn't they already delay the release of the game to try and make it better? And then if they only had a key to get into every door, how much did they really add to this game? It seems like it's just a straightforward shooter where you find a key and then there's literally no interaction with anyone. Like, didn't they spend 5 years on this thing?
Well, I mean, you can stealth, and you can tell how important that is to the game because of the very high quality stealth kill animation that has been implemented here. You can shoot things from really far or up close. You can explode some canisters. That's about it. There's no other style of play available to you here that involves relying on interesting abilities or utilizing the environment or turning enemies against each other or anything. It's just shoot the enemies with the guns or punch them in the back.
Yeah.
I'll put it this way. I used my environment more creatively in Dead Island 2 than I used it here in Redfall, because Dead Island 2's enemy and environment design let me do that. Dead Island 2 is not meant to be more sophisticated than an Arkane game. The whole point of a Dead Island game is to not be sophisticated, and the whole point of an Arkane game is to be sophisticated. How the hell did we get here?
What? What?
I would now like to talk about missions in Redfall. The missions in Redfall fall into 3 categories: main missions, side missions, and safe house.
This game is going straight to floppy disk. Organizational challenges also happened if they took that long. Oh, like they had people leaving. Probably shotgun is the only gun that makes sense in the game because everyone's trying to approach you and it's just going to shoot in a path. So then how do you miss, right? Like maybe shotgun's like the only gun that makes sense in this game.
Puzzle. The door was locked, but I'm pretty proud of myself for this.
Hey,
I
Demos.
saw that there was a hole in the roof. So I moved slightly to the right, climbed the box, and then dropped down into the cage, allowing me to unlock the door.
GG.
I now need to head to the movie theater, and on the way I spot this scene. Clearly this gentleman is making the most of the vampire's penchant for sucking, but probably don't solicit that kind of service in front of a spotlight, my dude. That's my advice. I walk through the rest of the town. It's basically empty. I arrive at the cinema to find an enemy stuck on some geometry.
What? It's like his upper thigh, but I mean, come on.
I arrive at the cinema to find an enemy stuck on some geometry. I kill him and 2 other goons outside, and before I head in, I ready myself. This is the final objective in this mission. The cinema is sure to be teeming with bad guys, so I make sure that I'm ready, and then in I go. After doing a bit of looking around, I find 1 enemy just hanging out. That is the only enemy in this entire movie theater.
This is such a good review. But this game is a fucking disaster. This game is an absolute disaster. And I'm just like shocked. I'm so shocked. This makes fucking Jedi Survivor look like the best video game I've ever seen.
Would now like to talk about enemy design in Redfall. There are effectively only
Holy
two enemy
shit.
types in Redfall: humans with guns and bog standard vampires. There are some other vampire types, but you fight them so infrequently that they may as well not exist at all. The bog standard vampire is a threatening creature, but luckily I managed to uncover its one weakness. It's not garlic, mind you, it's walking backwards and to the left slightly.
Oh, their weakness is walking backwards and to the left slightly, chat. Take a note. Atomic, hey!
If this fails, I luckily discovered another anti-vampire technique, which I
Solid
like to
has
call
comments.
chair.
Yeah, I'll bet. Are they good? Oh, defeated by the chair. Oh.
At least the moon ain't really.
Ring Around the Rosie is my favorite. Oops. Looks like they stopped you. Oh my god,
Now
it's
I would
like
like
fucking...
to show you a thrilling combat sequence involving one of the game's human enemies.
He must have played so much of this game. Wow. Miss Whisper cultist. They're really rushing.
I would now like to demonstrate to you some of the issues I've had with menus and UI in
Look at that.
Redfall.
Look at
First
that
of all,
flanking.
I should make clear that you cannot pause this game.
Okay, so that was by SkillUp. SkillUp has a YouTube channel. You guys can go and check it out. That's the best review I have seen on the game. But there are others. Hold on, where's the guy with his head in his hand? Actually, was it this one? This one's GamingBolt. Actually, I think this might have been one of the ones that says a little more. If Starfield is anything like this, we are so fucked. Veggie lasagna, hi!
I was once called relentless, you know. Relentless and absurd, but still.
What happened to Redfall?
By now, you would have seen several reviews for Arkane Austin's Redfall. The co-op looter shooter is now available on Xbox Series X and S and PC.
This is my
after
GamingBolt.
reportedly over 5 years in development, if LinkedIn profiles are anything to go by. A quick peek at its Metacritic reveals a Metascore of...
Okay, can you guys hear him? He's like really quiet for some reason. I don't know why. Like the balance in audio is like really off on this one.
However,
gonna
as the
turn
months
it up.
rolled on, the concerns piled up. Always online, even when playing solo. Campaign progression only applies to the host and no one else, though levels and materials still carry over. Throw in 30 FPS only on Xbox Series X and S, with a 60 FPS mode coming later while reviews went live roughly an hour before launch, and skepticism was high. Cut to the game's release, with complaints of pop-in, control issues, and motion sickness on consoles to go with the poor textures. It's also full of bugs like
that's the
broken
guy that was
AI,
sucking the
disappearing
guy's
enemies,
leg.
disappearing guns, the start menu becoming locked, a glitching interface, and more. Performance on PC is hit or miss. Some have reported the game to run smoothly due to the day one patch, but plenty of Steam reviews with strong configurations claim otherwise. Barring fixes for the technical issues and glitches, Redfall isn't a good game. The world is incredibly barren and lifeless, and while explained in the lore, it still doesn't make for a compelling setting to explore.
He doesn't really
Then there are
say
the
anything
playable
more here.
characters who have poorly written dialogue if you haven't had enough of that this year. If all of that weren't enough, there's no co-op matchmaking. The always online, co-op-centric title, which doesn't let you change characters in the middle of your story playthrough, also won't find other people to play with you. Maybe this is because the Xbox LFG exists, but how Steam players are supposed to...
Wait, Brick, you said you play this game. How do you play with other people? Are you able to matchmake with people while you're playing it?
Also, a PSA for those who somehow made it to the end and maybe want to go back later for more torture. Don't beat the final boss.
Don't beat the final boss.
So will reportedly finish the story and prevent you from returning to complete any pending side quests, hunt for collectibles, or enjoy your fully kitted out vampire hunter. There's reportedly no post-game or way to continue, and you must start from the beginning. Truly something that many looter shooters can lay claim to in this day and age. $70 game, by the way.
I don't get it. So then this is exactly what I was talking to you guys about. Once you finish the final boss, that's it. The game is literally over. And there's no new game plus. There's nothing else going on. Like, that's it. The game is just, you can't even like finish. You can't even platinum it. It just like ends. It doesn't make any sense.
How did it turn into what some are calling Arkane's Fallout 76/Anthem? I believe it's a consequence of multiple issues disastrously coming to a head. First is the overall design. While Arkane Austin worked with Lion and other teams on Dishonored, its most impressive singular effort is Prey. The reboot of Human Head Studios' first-person shooter series received significant acclaim for its immersive sim mechanics, art style, and moral choices. Prey Mooncrash was also noteworthy for its roguelike campaign and how it intersected the stories of various characters in interesting ways. After Prey launched, Arkane began incubation on Redfail, at least according to a developer's LinkedIn profile. They probably wanted to delve more into...
So I don't know anything about Prey, but it sounds like this game was supposed to be almost a follow-up to it. A little bit different, but sort of a follow-up to it. Did you guys play that game, Prey? If it did so well, how is this one doing so poorly? Was Prey single player?
While adding elements of previous games for a bit more zing. Perhaps planned to be a live service title. This would explain the always online requirement. Maybe an in-game store was meant to be implemented before the failures of several big live service titles like Marvel's The Avengers and Anthem caused it to pivot, not unlike what many believe happened to Gotham Knights. It wouldn't be odd if the overall premise...
What happened to Gotham Knights? I actually haven't followed up on like Marvel Avengers, Gotham Knights. Like, I don't know what they were planning to do with those games. And I was curious to try them out, but I didn't think of those games as live service. Those games seem like storytelling games where you play through it one time, single player, and then that's it. So were they trying to make them live service?
If Redfall saw numerous changes in its lifespan. Maybe Arkane Austin wanted a persistent, always online world not unlike The Division 2, where players could meet with others in social hubs and seamlessly team up. Engine limitations may have prevented this from happening though. When Microsoft acquired ZeniMax Studios in 2021, it reportedly mandated development only on Xbox Series X and S and PC, and canceled a potential PS5 version, which it denies. Whether aware of Redfall's deeper problems at the time, it seemingly maintained a hands-off approach, which it does with many of its studios. We'll get to that. Either way, Redfall's concept was probably solidified before that. It was announced at the Xbox and Bethesda showcase at E3 2021. But I wouldn't be surprised if the team struggled to create a persistent open world to support 4 players and maintain the Arkane level of detail. After all, Dishonored is known for its single-player gameplay and decently sized self-contained environments.
Marvel Avengers shutting down. Gotham Knights has a DLC out. But no one's playing it or buying it.
Unlike Deathloop, which was developed by Arkane Lion. You could point to Prey, but its implementation of gunplay was decidedly more System Shock than Far Cry. Add in some engine limitations and the increasing challenges of developing for modern-day hardware, especially as games become more complex, and you have a recipe for disaster. Trying to get all of this running at a consistent frame rate is challenging enough, to say nothing of eliminating bugs. The prevalence of bugs isn't even something that QA testers can be blamed for. The teams likely reported these...
You know, so one of the things that he was just talking about, I just want to like just say my thoughts on it. So when I'm making a project, as I'm making it and I'm going along, it's not like just a stagnant, you know, thing that just is, you know, it's not like a fucking, I don't know, it's just, you know, it's fluid. It's like, you know, it's just constantly changing what I'm thinking about doing with it and things that I'm, you know, I'm trying to like finesse it, and as I get closer to the end, I'm still making like changes and I'm changing how I think about it. And so for them to do that in gaming and for them to do that with this game and think, okay, we're going to make this live service. Okay, live service games don't seem to be doing well. We're going to change what the end game is going to be for this. It sort of seems like, on the one hand, like a mistake, but on the other hand, maybe it's good. I don't know, but it makes sense that they would be changing it as they go along, which is what he was just talking about them doing. The QA team is not responsible for the bugs. They're only responsible for finding them. Yeah, right. True.
It should have taken a call years ago to cancel Redfall if it wasn't working out. Instead, it decided to slap a $70 price and include it in Game Pass, quickly becoming a dumping ground for terrible co-op titles like Rainbow Six Extraction.
Yeah, so they're still pushing the game even now on their Twitter. If you go on their Twitter page, you'll see that they're just like pushing all kinds of stuff, showing how good the game is, and they're still trying to push it for that high price tag, and they're not doing any like damage control. I mean, I haven't seen it. They're not talking about going in and fixing things that are wrong with the game, updating the AI, you know, working on whatever. They're not talking about doing that. They're just like making it seem like the game's like, this is it. So I'm confused about their damage control process. They should have one. They should have a plan B. They made your money. I mean, if you have Game Pass, then it's free for you, right? Like I haven't. Hey Goku. Hey hi. I don't have Game Pass right now. I had it like for Warhammer, but I don't have it now. But Arkham actually gave me 3 months free for Game Pass, so I could play this hot mess of a game if I wanted. But like, you know, it doesn't really add any value to Game Pass, which is too bad. Why didn't they just push it for maybe a lower price tag? Why didn't they just wait? Why wouldn't they just wait? It's fucking vampires. Wait until October. What's the hurry?
Is publishing and not developing the latter.
Fucking Contraband. No. Contraband. I was so excited when that one was talked about and, you know, first discussed. And I thought it looked so good. But then the more that they talked about it, the more I was like, oh no, is this going to be what I was hoping that it would be? And now this. And now I'm like, scared. Now I'm scared because Contraband was looking so good, but this game is so bad. My question at this point, and this is for everyone here in chat, is why? Why do companies keep doing this? Why keep brushing out games in a buggy, broken state? The microtransactions, when they launch, always work with no issues or bugs. Why does everyone want to live in a live service garbage game that no one likes or wants to play? It's all about chasing trends and battle passes instead of setting standards and being original with their games. Well, I think that's very generic. We can only look at this developer and at the people that are managing the developer and having them push the game out before it's ready. We can't necessarily, I mean, we could sort of compare across the industry and see, you know, other developers and other publishers are pushing sort of the same stuff. But not all games are like this. So it's not like it's just the way the industry is now. It's just how, sadly, a lot of games that we have high hopes for have been, really. Like even Cyberpunk when it first came out was a disaster. A lot of people say it wasn't. I say it was. My experience of it was that it was very buggy. It had a lot of features and it was very bad. But they took their time. They fixed it. And now it's a beautiful game with a great story. It's fucking thrilling. So well made. But it first came out kind of like a load of hot crap. But this game, it looks like, based on these reviews, that that's not a possible future. So then, you know, same sort of problem, but totally different true issue, which is in this game, it looks like there's no real core game. Whereas in Cyberpunk, the game was there. The love for the game was there. The devs really cared, but, you know, they just needed more time. And then eventually they got that. Just, you know, they released it and it had all this crazy shit going on, but eventually they had enough time to fix the problems. So, you know, there's games that come out and they're really well made, but they're not finished. This is not that, you know. So, you know, it makes me wonder, like, is Starfield going to be the Cyberpunk category? Or is it going to be the Redfail category? Because how do you know until it comes out? You really don't know. So then you guys have to realize, and I'm sorry that I'm the one to break this to you for the first time ever in your extensively long gaming lives. But the way games have been releasing, you just can't hop on them day one unless you're doing it on console. And yet, I know you want to be hyped. I know you want to play the game day one, but it just doesn't make sense unless you're playing it on console. And even then, maybe be a little skeptic. Do the research. It's like when you go on Amazon and you're buying something from, you know, who knows what vendor, but you're getting it for cheap. You still got to do the research, right? Or if you're buying something from a vendor that's really good and they're really reliable, like Ninja, like if you get a Ninja blender, you're like, oh, I like Ninja. This is some good stuff. Still do the research, read the reviews. Have your own opinion about it. You can't just let other people's opinions decide what you're gonna do. And you're smart people. You guys know. You should have your own opinion about these things. And it's good that you're scared. It's good that you're nervous. And it's good that we talk about this stuff. That's why I'm watching these. Because, like, I want to know what's going on. And I want you guys to, like, be sort of thinking of critically about this kind of stuff. Or, you know, just watch these reviewers that you trust. And then they'll think critically about it for you. But this is what it is now. And you can't be, I mean, you could be mad about it. You could be sad about it. You could be happy about it. Whatever. It is what it is. This is the world as we live in it now. Every situation is different. These devs, they're all different from each other. And they have like different levels of commitment to these games that are coming out. Jedi Survivor, I'm sure, is going to have a lot of people giving it a lot of love and time and consideration and fixing any problems that it has for PC. But this game, I can't be so sure. Yeah, so just don't be an early adopter. But if you are an early adopter, that's just who you are. Adopt for console. You can yell at me if you want, but I know that you know better. And you know that you know better. So it's nothing to complain about. Yeah, but if you guys keep buying into the hype on day one, if you guys keep buying into that day one hype, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. You know? It's an old saying. But it is what it is. I just have been coming in real slow. My approach, especially to new games, has been like really slow. I'm just like, pull up. I'm like going on Twitter like, hey guys, let me know if this game is good day one. Everyone's like, hard stop, don't fucking do it. It's crazy bad. I'm like, message delivered. Say no more.